What if the windows you pass by every day are not just glass and frames, but doorways into futures you have not yet dared to claim? Stand with me now in a place where fog meets silence, where 5 ancient windows rise from the earth like portals suspended in time. Each one glows with a different light. Each one hums with a different promise. And one of them, just one, holds the key to the opportunity your soul has been whispering about in the darkest hours of the night. Carl Jung believed that we do not simply see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. Every choice you make is a mirror held up to the hidden chambers of your psyche, to the parts of yourself you have kept locked away since childhood. This is not a game. This is not entertainment. This is a psychological excavation. And by the end of this video, you will understand why the opportunity you have been waiting for has always been waiting inside you, disguised as fear. But here is what you must know before you choose. The window you select will reveal more than your future. It will expose the wound you have been protecting, the archetype you embody without knowing it, and the single invisible barrier that has kept success just beyond your fingertips. Stay with me, because what you are about to discover will not comfort you. It will awaken you. Look closely now. 5 windows, 5 worlds, 1 truth. The first window rises to your left, framed in weathered bronze. Its glass tinted the deep amber of a setting sun. Through it, you see a vast desert stretching endlessly, golden dunes rolling like frozen waves beneath an orange sky. There is no one there, no sound, only light and silence, and the slow, patient breath of eternity. If you chose this window, you are standing at the edge of the hermit archetype, the one Jung called the seeker of inner gold. You are someone who has learned that the crowd offers noise but rarely wisdom. At some point in your childhood, perhaps you were misunderstood. Perhaps you were told you were too quiet, too sensitive, too much in your own world. And so you built a fortress. You told yourself that solitude was strength, that needing no one made you invincible. But here is what most people are too afraid to admit about this choice. Your isolation is not protection. It is a prison you have mistaken for a palace. The opportunity waiting for you is not out there in the noise of the world. It is in the radical act of letting one person, just one, see the treasure you have been guarding alone. You have spent years refining your gifts in secret, polishing your ideas in the dark, waiting for the perfect moment to emerge. But perfection is the language of fear. Your opportunity will arrive the moment you stop waiting to be flawless and start sharing what is raw. There is someone right now, someone you have not yet met, or perhaps someone you have been avoiding, who needs exactly what you carry. The desert is beautiful, but even the sun needs the earth to rise from. Now, listen closely, because this next part changes everything. The second window is directly in front of you, tall and arched, framed in silver filigree that catches the light like frost. Through it, you see a city at night, towers of glass and steel glittering under a sky thick with stars. The streets below pulse with movement, with life, with the electric hum of 1,000 stories colliding at once. If you chose this window, you are the sovereign archetype, the builder of empires, the one who sees potential where others see chaos. You were likely the child who organized the games, who made the rules, who felt responsible for everyone else's happiness, even when your own was crumbling. You learned early that power is safety, that control is love, that if you could just manage every variable, nothing could hurt you again. But here is the truth Jung understood, and you have been running from. Control is not power. It is exhaustion dressed up as ambition. The opportunity waiting for you is not another promotion, not another project, not another mountain to climb. It is the terrifying, liberating act of surrender. You have been so busy building the kingdom that you forgot to live in it. Your body is tired. Your heart is numb. And the opportunity knocking at your door is not success. It is rest. It is the permission to be human, to be flawed, to let someone else hold the weight for once. The city is magnificent, but even the skyline needs the night to reveal its beauty. The third window stands to your right, circular and bordered in deep forest green, its glass swirling with mist. Through it, you see an ancient woodland, trees so tall their tops disappear into clouds, roots tangled like the veins of the earth itself. Somewhere in the distance, you hear water. Somewhere deeper, you hear your own name being called. If you chose this window, you are walking the path of the mystic, the one Jung said lives between worlds, the bridge between the seen and the unseen. You are someone who has always felt too much, known too much, sensed the emotions in a room before anyone spoke a word. As a child, you were told you were imagining things, that your intuition was not real, that you needed to be more logical, more grounded, more like everyone else. And so you learned to doubt the very gift that makes you extraordinary. But here is what the forest knows, and you have forgotten. Your sensitivity is not a weakness. It is an antenna tuned to frequencies most people will never hear. The opportunity waiting for you is not validation from the external world. It is the reclamation of your own inner authority. You have been asking permission to trust yourself, seeking proof that your visions are real, waiting for someone to tell you that yes, you are allowed to believe what you feel. But the mystic does not wait for permission. The mystic walks into the fog and lets the path reveal itself. There is a creative project, a healing gift, a message you are meant to share, and it will never make sense to the logical mind. It will only make sense to the soul. And your opportunity will come the moment you stop translating your magic into language the world can accept and start speaking in the tongue your spirit was born with. The forest is wild, but wildness is not chaos. It is the original order. Now, here is what connects all of these choices. The invisible thread that Jung spent his life unraveling. Stay with me, because this is where your story begins to make sense. The fourth window is small, barely waist high, framed in chipped white paint, its glass clear as water. Through it, you see a single room, empty except for a wooden chair and a table. On the table sits a letter, unopened, your name written across the envelope in handwriting you almost recognize. If you chose this window, you are living in the archetype of the orphan, the one who was taught that the world is not safe, that trust is a luxury you cannot afford, that every gift comes with a price. Somewhere in your past, you were abandoned, not necessarily by a person, but by a promise. You were told you mattered, and then shown you did not. You were told you were loved, and then left to fend for yourself. And so you learned to expect nothing, to need nothing, to survive on scraps and call it strength. But here is the wound you have been too afraid to touch. Your independence is not freedom. It is a defense mechanism you have worn so long you forgot it was armor. The opportunity waiting for you is not another chance to prove you can do it alone. It is the radical, soul-shaking invitation to receive. There is help coming. There is support being offered. There is a hand reaching towards you right now, in this very moment. And you are so conditioned to reject it that you cannot even see it. The letter on the table is real. The message is waiting. But you have to walk into the room. You have to sit down. You have to open it. And that requires the one thing you have spent your whole life avoiding: vulnerability. The room is small, but small spaces can hold the biggest transformations. The fifth window is behind you, and you almost did not notice it. It is frameless, just a sheet of glass standing alone. And through it, you see nothing but your own reflection staring back. If you chose this window, or if you felt drawn to it, even as you tried to look away, you are face to face with the shadow. The part of yourself Jung said we spend our entire lives running from. You are the one who knows there is something unfinished inside you, something unspoken, something you have been too afraid to name. Perhaps it is rage. Perhaps it is grief. Perhaps it is the dream you gave up because someone told you it was foolish. But here is the secret no one tells you about the shadow. It is not your enemy. It is your fuel. The opportunity waiting for you is not out there. It is in here, in the confrontation with the self you have been avoiding. You have been looking for permission, for a sign, for the universe to hand you a map. But the map is your own face. The opportunity is the integration. It is the moment you stop running from your pain and start mining it for power. Every great artist, every true leader, every person who has ever changed the world did so not by transcending their darkness, but by turning toward it, by asking it what it came to teach. Your reflection is not a mirror, it is a doorway, and the only way through is to step inside. Now, let me tell you what all of this means, what Jung knew, and what the world has forgotten. You did not choose a window. The window chose you. It called to you from the part of your psyche that has been trying to speak for years, the part you have silenced with work, with distraction, with the endless noise of a life lived on the surface. The opportunity you are waiting for is not a job, not a person, not a stroke of luck. It is the alignment between who you have been pretending to be and who you actually are. It is the collapse of the false self and the rising of the true one. Jung wrote that your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Every window in this test is a threshold. Every choice is a conversation between your conscious mind and the vast, ancient intelligence of your unconscious. And the opportunity, the real opportunity, is not waiting for you somewhere in the future. It is waiting for you here, now, in the willingness to see yourself as you truly are. Some of you chose the desert, and you are being called to share. Some of you chose the city, and you are being called to rest. Some of you chose the forest, and you are being called to trust. Some of you chose the room, and you are being called to receive. And some of you chose the mirror, and you are being called to integrate. But all of you, every single one of you, are being called to stop waiting. The opportunity is not coming. It is already here. It has been here the whole time, dressed in the very fear you have been avoiding. Tell me in the comments which window you chose. Tell me what you saw. Tell me what you have been afraid to admit. Because the moment you name it, the moment you speak it out loud, you stop being haunted by it. You start being freed by it. Your story matters. Your choice matters. And the opportunity you are seeking is listening.